In terms of classroom of the future, we've seen some schools now that are running fully AI. I'm maybe not a big proponent of that. I think there has to be an intersection for safeguards of children to have a teacher still in the classroom. And I think the classroom of the future, in my mind, is an intersection of where technology really serves the teacher. I think in terms of localization, we have two segments of our business. Obviously, products that we sell directly into schools or school groups. These are off-the-shelf products, so those require very little customization. And then working with governments, like we do in Indonesia, Morocco, obviously in the United Arab Emirates, we work with those governments to tailor their curriculum into our platform based on our learning science. So it is a bespoke nature when dealing with governments, and less so when dealing with schools and school groups. And every implementation is unique, so we basically work with governments to sit down, assess their curriculum, assess their learning styles, assess their capabilities from an infrastructure perspective, device readiness, and then we put together a bespoke plan to enable us to be successful with those governments and implementing it at scale across different nations. I think, we have a privacy pledge on our website, and all of the data that we use is essentially masked. So in terms of this, the student data and also the key information about Alef, we work on the learning side of things. So a lot of the kind of PII data that you would see in a traditional student information system isn't stored in Alef. So with every implementation, we understand that every, nuance in terms of government may have various different data privacy laws. So whether it's where we need to host locally or host on cloud, we actually have different modes of operation in terms of how to satisfy those data regulations in each of the countries that we work in. So it isn't a one-size-fits-all. We're quite flexible in the way we adapt our solutions to meet any data privacy. But when it also comes to ethics, one of the key things we do around using our AI is empowering teachers to actually still be in control of the class. And what's really important here is that AI basically will kind of scaffold learning and understand misconceptions. The teachers are then being presented with those options in terms of where students are struggling, so they can intervene and give those students the right support and remedial support that they need. So teacher remains that agency. AI is just a tool and a collaborator to help the teacher identify where their students are struggling and how best to help them. I think a lot of the tools that we're building now is on how to build technology and tools that scale. So obviously working here with the United Arab Emirates and the Ministry of Education, we've scaled our program across all government schools, and we have a large share of private sector schools that are also using our product. But we've also worked in markets like Indonesia, where it's a completely different infrastructure. Students are using mobile devices, so building things that are device agnostic, that allow this product to scale and go into the hands of learners across the globe is kind of core to our mission. We're also working with nations in Africa now in terms of advancing, education there. So I think technology will catch up, but everything that we build in terms of thinking of a global scale, making sure it's accessible, it divides that barrier and really creates accessible, equal access to education for learners across the world. I think it depends on the context. In terms of classroom of the future, we've seen some schools now that are running fully AI. I'm maybe not a big proponent of that. I think there has to be an intersection for safeguards of children to have a teacher still in the classroom. And I think the classroom of the future, in my mind, is an intersection of where technology really serves the teacher and really basically drives the better outcomes for students. And what I mean by that is if you think of a traditional classroom today or traditional classroom in the past, let's say today, because things are moving very fast, you have a teacher teaching to a student through traditional means and is only able to assess that student at a termly exam or maybe once a week, not understanding the misconceptions that are happening if kids are grasping concepts in real time or not. Where our platform, some of the problem statements that we're trying to solve is the way that we build the Alef content and the lessons is the teachers are able to understand because students are being assessed formatively and summatively through each lesson. So they kind of see a heat map and can say, look, all the students are really struggling because we're talking about an algebra concept. Let's put the laptop down and let's go to the board for group instruction. So we're trying to build tools that allow teachers to look at that data and intervene and drive the right intervention strategies to personalize learning in real time for students, as opposed to waiting till it's too late. So I think the classroom of the future really, in my view, is where we empower teachers with the right tools. And there's that good intersection where students are engaged using digital tools, teachers are saving their administration time to focus on instruction and driving the best outcome for learners. And I don't think we're that far off. I think technology is going to evolve, and hopefully the future will allow each learner to achieve their potential.